what's wrong with me? Why wasn't I good enough, worthy enough of you investing $5,000 to work with me? But this person over here, you could invest $50,000 in. And it took me a while to work through that. It wasn't her fault, and it definitely wasn't the other coach's fault, right? But what that taught me about my self-worth at that time was that I had my self-worth, the validation tied to my business.
Welcome to the Elizabeth Yang Show, where we explore the benefits of diverse leaders expanding your brand authority online to create massive impact and happy sales. Now, let's dive in because your legendary life is waiting.
How many times have you heard the objection that you are just too expensive? I want to share with you my $50,000 lesson on this objection, and really at the root of what I would say was the big aha moment when I first started my business that really catapulted my own self-worth. Now, I know that many of us, especially if you're a woman listening to this or watching this, have been told that, oh, just go and charge your worth, charge your worth. And that's what I aspired to when I first grew my business and started it. But over the years that I've grown my business, I realized that you actually should not be charging your worth, because when we think that we should be charging our worth, we're actually tying our self-worth, our self-value to our business. And we can't use our business as a way to validate ourselves. The reality is that you're priceless, and that has absolutely nothing to do with the pricing in your business. Now, does our self-worth impact and influence the decisions we make with our pricing? Absolutely. But we shouldn't be charging our worth and betting our self-esteem and our self-validation, our self-worth on the prices in our business. So I want to share this with you because I often get a lot of compassionately ambitious entrepreneurs that come to me and they're like, Elizabeth, I know I should be charging my worth. It's a mindset thing, and I just can't seem to figure out how to overcome it. And I want to share this $50,000 lesson with you because this taught me so much about my own journey to self-worth, my own worthy mindset, and really the you're too expensive objection. So early on in my business, when I was just first starting out, I remember talking to this woman about her business. Now, she at the time was a multiple six-figure earner in her business, and she had been wanting to work with someone like me. This was really early on in my business. And so we got to the sales conversation, and we started talking about pricing. At the time, I think I was charging, it was like $5,000 to work together. And she said to me, Elizabeth, that's a lot. That's too expensive for me. In that moment, I just wanted to cave in to help her. Have you ever had those moments where you're talking to someone and you and her or him completely hit it off, and in your heart, you just feel like you're so certain support them and help them get to the other side? That's how I felt like with her. She and I had been talking for quite some time until she finally made the decision that, yeah, I want to consider working with Elizabeth. But when I named my price, $5,000, and she said, that's too expensive. Inside, I was literally feeling like I'm about to cave. But I didn't. I didn't. And so she said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and think about it. Now, this is early on in my business, so I let it go. Over the next several weeks, she asked me to make introductions to other coaches that she wanted to meet. And of course, I went ahead and did that. Literally about 6 months later, she sent me a DM. And she said, Elizabeth, I want to thank you for some of the introductions that you made to some of the other coaches. I want to let you know that I'm now working with so-and-so, and she is amazing. Now, I'm not the type of person where if you are another business strategist or someone else who might be doing something similar to what I do, I don't refer. I don't believe in that. I think that there's more than enough to go around, and it's really the best man or the best woman who gets the customer yes, right? When I say the best, it's whoever can be clearest, whoever can be most authentic, that can create that human connection to that one person that makes that one person say yes to you. May the best man or woman win the customer yes, right? So for me, I am open to making introductions and letting the consumer make the best decision for her. So when I got this DM, I was super thrilled for her. I knew that she had been struggling in her business with her mindset in life for quite some time. So I happened to ask her out of curiosity how much this coach was charging. Now, remember that when her and I first talked, the price that I had quoted her was $5,000. Okay, $5,000. I was literally on my phone reading this DM when she responded back and she said $50,000. 50, y'all. 50, comma, 000. It was an extra zero than what I quoted her. And she said yes. She said yes. $50,000. Do you know what that felt like when I saw that come in through my DM? It felt like you have been dating someone for 3 years. You've been with this person for a really long time. He never took you to go meet his parents. All of a sudden, you break up. He dates a girl for 3 weeks. He takes her to go meet his parents. That's what it felt like. You know what that felt like? It felt like, what's wrong with me? It felt like a slap in the face. That's genuinely what it felt like. Now, nothing against her. She was making the best decision. Nothing against the other coach. I mean, come on now, $50,000 a year. I aspired to get there, right? At the time, I remember thinking, I'm going to show her some love. She's just got her sales game on, and I'm going to aspire to that. But deep down inside, when I saw that, it brought me back to the conversation I had had with her, where my heart literally ached and I wanted to cave by lowering my prices because I genuinely believed that I really could help her. And if I could only just make it more affordable, this woman could see the transformation she was truly capable of, because my heart just really wanted to serve. But when I got that DM, it literally felt like a slap in the face. It felt like, what's wrong with me? Why wasn't I good enough, worthy enough of you investing $5,000 to work with me? But this person over here, you could invest $50,000 in. And it took me a while to work through that. It wasn't her fault, and it definitely wasn't the other coach's fault, right? But what that taught me about my self-worth at that time was that I had my self-worth, the validation tied to my business. And most importantly, it taught me the most powerful lesson of all with pricing is that the other person will likely tell you you're too expensive. But it's not that they can't afford you. It's that in that conversation, our jobs, you and me, is to show them why they need to prioritize their money, their hard-earned money, to work with you to solve the issue now. It's not that they can't afford you. It's a matter of helping show them how to prioritize working with you now. Money reveals people's priorities. And in that moment, I remember working through that and realizing with this $50,000 lesson on my self-worth and the objection of you're too expensive is that it was never really about the money. It was never really about affordability. It was about her in that moment prioritizing money in her life with the issues that she wanted to resolve that was urgent right then and there. And this other coach just happened to tap into that. What I call now the details that matter. That helped her realize the urgency of reprioritizing the dollars in her life to be able to afford working with her. So today, fast forward today, I realized that that was one of the most critical defining moments in my journey, on my own self-worth journey, and especially with pricing in my business, is that you've got to untangle the two. Don't let your self-worth hinge on what you're charging in your business. Now, does our self-worth impact our pricing? Absolutely. Absolutely, it does. But focus really on your communication and your listening when it comes to that conversation. Focus on the details that matter and ask yourself, when you're talking to that person, how can you help them prioritize the urgency with reprioritizing the dollars to invest in themselves? You see, that lesson taught me that charging more isn't just about charging more for the sake of more money. It taught me that charging more was really about the person making the investment on herself. This woman that I spoke to, she finally said yes to investing in herself at $50,000. This was her journey, believing she was worth her own investment for that type of transformation. And as my business has grown all these years, I started to realize, and let me just tell you, I have done the freebies, I have done low ticket, I have done hourly coaching, I have done 3-month programs and 6-month programs, and I've played with different pricing throughout my whole entire business. And I can tell you that charging more on the premium side has allowed me to work with quality people, because the more that they've invested, not just in working with me, but have invested in themselves working with me, their level of commitment is different. They have challenged and they up-leveled their commitment to themselves. And as an overgiver, where I used to believe in the beginning of my business that that was a weakness, because again, that's what I thought, like people were saying in the industry, like, don't give too much. They didn't pay for that, hold back, or they're not going to buy it, or you can't upsell them. Being an overgiver, I used to think that was a weakness until I started to realize that actually overgiving works really well with charging more, because when you charge more on the premium side, the quality of the people you're working with is not only higher, they show up differently. And for me as an overgiver, I am pouring so much fuel into them that that's why they're getting the type of results and transformation that they're getting. And it is because of this $50,000 lesson in my own self-worth with my own objection of you're too expensive. And then 6 months later, turns around and invests in someone 10 times more expensive than I was when I first started my business. I realized that it wasn't really about the money, that money reveals people's priorities. And for me, it revealed that I had used my business as a way to validate my self-worth through my pricing. And today, I've learned to untangle that. And I want you to hear this, okay? I want you to hear this lesson so that you can untangle this as simply looking at finding the courage to charge more. When I sat there and read that DM and it felt like a slap in the face, I just broke down and cried. But it wasn't about her, it wasn't about the other coach. It was really about my own self-worth. It was about how my heart had ached for her and had truly wanted to serve and was willing to cave and lower my prices to support her, to help her. But at the end, it wasn't even about that. And so today, I stand before my audience, my clients, and I don't hesitate to say this is what my pricing is. Because I know that when I'm talking to someone who is then ready to work with me and willing to make that level of investment, she or he is finally saying yes to themselves, that they are worth it. Because when I look back on my own investment with how I've grown my business, I've realized that too. And when you start to realize that your self-worth is actually priceless, and that if you had all the money in the world, that it didn't even really matter what you would invest in. You would invest in it yourself because you believe you're worth it. And when you believe that you're worth it, whether you're investing $100 or $100 million, whether or not you really have that money in your bank account, it shifts everything with how you show up. It shifts everything. So if you're sitting there and you're like, wow, I need to be charging my worth, I want you to realize that no, you should not be charging your worth. Instead, you should be focused on how can I master listening to the details that matter to help that person understand the urgency of working with someone like me so that they can reprioritize the dollars to invest in themselves now. And when you shift this mindset, my friend, you can show up powerfully in those sales conversations, leading with a human connection, and still feel confident and worthy, and still feel that you're still serving because you are, right? This was one of the most powerful lessons, and I wanted to leave that with you because this taught me the greatest lesson of all. It's not that they can't afford you. It's just that they haven't yet understood the priority in moving their dollars around to work with someone like you. Remember that, and you've got happy sales coming.
If you are leaving this episode feeling inspired to uplevel online and make happy sales happen, be sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Now go out and take those steps to build your legendary life.